Today's video will go over a catch-all build for those of you like me who hate paying respec costs. This build doesn't necessarily excel in any area, but instead gives you a wide berth of flexible options. I PvP'd with this build in Ashenvale, Hillsbrad, and duels, all without feeling outclassed, plus have tanked Black Fathom Depths to 5 out of 7 before our raid disbanded due to time, and have top DPS in dungeons, etc. It will also work really well with all the various rune combinations and allow you extreme flexibility if you don't like our rune choices and want to substitute your own. The build is honestly quite simple. You just take 5 out of 5 Improved Corruption, 5 out of 5 Improved Shadow Bolt, 5 out of 5 Bane, and Shadow Burn. Now let's go a bit over why we chose the options that we chose. Starting with Corruption, upgrading it to instant cast really helps in PvP, allowing you to be far more mobile than normal, or if you're a tank, help you maintain your threat, plus being essential for farming in our opinion. It is never a wrong choice and really requires some over-the-top bonus to overtake it as a general rule. However, then we hop over to the Destruction tree, taking 5 out of 5 Improved Shadow Bolt, which will give you a big damage boost if you're going for a more shadow damage route, while also applying off of crits from the new melee Shadow Cleave, which Shadow Bolt turns into when you're in Metamorphosis form. While it does nothing for fire damage Warlocks, our next talent absolutely does, reducing our immolate to a 1.5 second cast time and allowing us to reduce the amount of upkeep time required in between Chaos Bolts and Incinerate for the fire dot. While only a minor boost there, it does help in tanking, also reducing the amount of time required to keep up the fire dot, which means less cast time interruption, minor threat boost, and leaving more time for Searing Pains. Lastly, Shadow Burn is just a really good execute spell, no matter what mode you're playing in, for when you need that just a little bit of extra damage to get the kill. Instant cast, though requiring a soul shard to cast and having a shorter range than most of your other spells, you do get the soul shard back if the target dies with the debuff from Shadow Burn on it and is in your appropriate level range. Now that we have the basics in place, we will take a look at what runes we recommend. For tank Warlocks, we have found a lot of success with Master Conjurer as our chest rune for both survivability and extra DPS, Metamorphosis for your gloves, obviously for the meta form, and then switching between Demonic Grace and Incinerate depending on what the fight calls for. However, one of the downsides to Demonic Grace is that it requires an active pet to cast, so if you have to sacrifice your Voidwalker for a shield while tanking, you will lose access to Demonic Grace until you are able to summon another pet. On that same thought as well, we have found in our experience that Voidwalkers were the best tanking pet in general to use, able to pick up adds that may spawn or be sacrificed as an oh crap button if the heal is going to be late. However, if survivability isn't an issue due to S-class healing in your raid, you can also use the Imp for a small stamina boost or minor fire damage shield for the party, or your Succubus for the melee DPS to help burn the boss. Warlocks wanting to do shadow damage will want to choose between Master Conjurer and Demonic Tactics as their chest rune. Both really good options depending on what the fight allows for. If you can get close enough to cast Drain Life, you'll definitely want to take Master Conjurer. If not, you'll want to take Demonic Tactics since you'll get a nice 10% crit bonus to both your attacks and your pet attacks, hopefully giving you an inconsistent but good DPS increase when that crit RNG goes in your favor. Also, critting with Shadow Bolt applies Improved Shadow Bolt, giving you a hefty 20% damage increase to all your next 4 direct damage shadow spells, so more crits are always nice. Gloves will either be Haunt to help with sustain and give a damage boost to your shadow dots, or Chaos Bolt for hopefully a crazy stupid crit even if it is technically fire damage. Legs runes are hard to recommend if you haven't unlocked Demonic Pact or Everlasting Affliction, but Demonic Grace does give you a 6-second crit boost up on a 20-second cooldown, and since your pet shouldn't be a Voidwalker but instead using either the Succubus or Imp, you should be able to just chain activate as soon as it's off cooldown to hopefully again give you even more Shadow Bolt crits to apply Improved Shadow Bolt procs. Fire damage Warlocks have probably the most options for chest runes, being Master Conjurer, Lake of Fire, and Demonic Tactics. Master Conjurer will just be a quick rehash, but bullet points, helps your sustain, good DPS increase, however 20-yard range, some bosses won't let you get close enough because of mechanics to cast Drain Life, or won't have ads to drain if you can't drain the boss. Similarly, Demonic Tactics, more crits are better, and this will be easier on your wrist than weaving Rain of Fire for Lake of Fire. Lastly, we wanted to touch specifically on Lake of Fire. It's a very interesting rune choice in our opinion. However, we feel in these early stages it is nowhere near as powerful as it will be in the later stages. And this is our reasoning. Because at 25, our mana pools are so low, roughly 1800 to 2000 tops when fully buffed out, that weaving rank 1 Rain of Fire to activate the Lake of Fire rune actually may not be the best move, at least for single target DPS. Since Rank of Fire Rank 1 costs 295 mana for one cast, That's roughly 12% of your total mana, or almost an entire rotation's worth of our other spells, for a 15-second 40% damage increase. When you then factor in the casting times of our spells, even with Bane, 12% of your mana to gain 40% damage on roughly that would be 6 spells, since Incinerate is a 2.25 second cast spell, and Chaos Bolt is a 2.5 second cast spell. That means unless there is an extreme outlier of rapid fire crits, you are spending 12% of your mana to gain 270 to 334 damage on one rotation, roughly, while losing enough mana to cast 4 Incinerates and 1 Chaos Bolt, which total out to between 609 and 730 damage. So unless you need to have the most extreme burst damage output for 15 seconds because you won't have time for another rotation, you shouldn't use the rank 1 Rain of Fire. Lastly, when you also factor the amount of life tapping required to get back the mana from one cast, which you get 74 mana per cast of life tap at rank 25, or excuse me, at level 25, it equals roughly 4 global cooldowns, which would be roughly 6 seconds where you're literally doing dot damage if you have them applied before life tapping, or if you don't, no damage. And 6 seconds with very little to no damage is an extremely long time. I'm sure some people will disagree with us, but we think Demonic Tactics or Master Conjurer will be the better choice for the single target focused fights, and we recommend in our opinion to leave Rain of Fire out of your normal rotation and leave it for the fights that require AoE, at least for this first phase, since letting it full cast when you AoE is an extra 40% damage on the Rain of Fire, which will really help chunk things down when you need to AoE stuff down. Lastly, for gloves, Chaos Bolt for that fat single target DPS, and of course Incinerate for the leg rune for a fire filler spell that also boosts your fire damage. Similarly, going Master Conjurer and PvP for your chest rune is the most recommended option, Metamorphosis for your glove rune, and then either Demonic Grace or Incinerate based on your preference. We have had fights where we wish we had both, but not enough fights where we could definitely pick one or the other. Basically, so far our experience has boiled down to wishing we had Incinerate to possibly try and chunk casters down faster, while wishing we had Demonic Grace for melees to help dodge their attacks more easily. I suppose Incinerate would possibly be better in the group situation though, since you won't be getting as focused as much as say a healer or another tank, and without Incinerate you lack a possible long range nuke since your only range spells really are Immolate, Shadow Dots, and Searing Pain. And with that, we've gone on over the basics for the build and the runes. If you have any questions, feel free to post them below. And other than that, if you liked the video, why not give us a sub and a like? Have a good night.